I have a 15-year-old guy on the spectrum. He's a newer client of mine. And one of the issues with him is that he was getting D's in all of his classes. And really, it wasn't that he wasn't smart or able to do the work. He's able to, but he just wouldn't be organized enough to ever get it turned in. And so it would be found later in a pile somewhere in his house or something like that. And so over the summer, because he didn't have school, we worked on teaching him to organize portions of the house, and we started with his room. And it was so messy, like stuff was just coming out of the room into the hallway. And we just started with a small amount.
Which is kind of typical teenager, right? That's kind of how teenagers... your teenagers won't be that way, but yes. I think that most people who have teenagers would say, oh yeah, that's a typical teenage bedroom. It's chaos.
Yeah.
Which is not conducive to them doing well in school or doing well in life or setting them up for success. But I think a lot of parents go, I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah.
But you
well, my 9 and 6-year-olds don't even throw their clothes on the floor. They put them in the hamper when they take them off. So their rooms are clean. They make their bed every day. Well, not my daughter, but I'll make her do that when she can actually make the bed. Right now, that's difficult for her.
But you were able to work on these things over the summer with the 15-year-old. You started with a small area.
Yeah, so what we did, and it seemed kind of like a little crazy, and I saw him looking at us like, seriously, you want me to do this? Is we made him write down. First, he had to figure out what the goal was, and he had to write down a goal.
Okay.
He had a hard time coming up with the goal.
I think that's a good point for everybody, because when you say to people, well, what do you want to do? Sometimes it's and even if they have an idea, it's hard for them to get it concise.
Right.
So being able to define what the goal is.
So he would say it, and then we'd say, okay, write that down. And he'd be like, are you serious? Yeah, you're going to write this down. Okay, now the next thing is, what are the steps you need to achieve that goal? And that was the really hard part for him. He just couldn't even figure out the steps. And at one point, we were cleaning off his desk, and we were coming up with the steps, and he was saying, well, I guess I would take everything off the desk and move it somewhere else, like over there. And I had to point out, that's not the most efficient way, because now the whole mess was here, but the whole mess is over here. You still have the same mess, it's just on a different surface.
This is my house, by the way. I mean, this is my house, yes.
And so we said, that's not going to work. So what else could you do? And then he said, well, I could pick up the item and figure out where it goes. Okay, what if it goes in your bedroom, which is upstairs? Then I'll take it upstairs. Okay, then you're going to go all the way upstairs, put one item in there, and come back down. And then what if you find another one a little bit later that goes up in your bedroom? Then what are you going to do? I'm going to go back upstairs. So he was willing to run up, and it would have been good exercise, actually.
Right.
But it wasn't the most efficient way again. So then we talked about, like, the other thing was he had a hard time parting with things. Wanted to keep everything. Mm-hmm. So we had to start teaching him, like, what's important and look at, like, saliency, basically. He had so many stuffed animals. He's 15. Mm-hmm. And that he wasn't willing to get rid of. And so we had to start talking to him about, like, okay, well, why are you keeping these things? He wanted to keep a case to a cell phone that was broken. Things like that. So I want to keep them because it's sentimental value. That was one of his responses.
Which is a good response for a 15-year-old who's on the spectrum.
Yes, but why is one a sentimental over another? I mean, like, if this is one meant a lot to you because of X, Y, and Z, like, certain things mean more because there's, like, a saliency or a reason behind that.
Right.
So we would have to negotiate and stuff like that back and forth, but we got him to the point where he would think about, what am I keeping? What am I throwing in the trash? What am I going to put in storage because I don't have space in here and it's just a sentimental, like, item that, I want to keep for future or something like that.
But I don't have to have visual eyes on it every day.
Yeah, I'm not going to use it.
Up my.
So we would ask him questions like, are you going to actually use this or need it?
Right.
No. Okay, why are you keeping it? Because, it's a milestone or something like that in my life. Okay. And then what can you donate?
Okay.
And then we also got him to think about, when you're cleaning off your desk, making some piles or having, like, containers to put the things in, so he would make one trip to do different things, and just learning how to organize. And all of that was difficult, but he wrote down all the steps. Mm-hmm. And we would ask him, what materials do you need for those steps? And he would write that down. And then the next thing was initiating the plan. And then as he's initiating the plan, checking off each step. Again, it was something like, do I really need to check off every step, or could I just do it at the end?
Yeah.
But what we were doing is preparing him for school, because he's going to have long-term projects where he has due dates a month from now, and he's going to have steps that he has to do that are actually each individually due at a shorter term, or an intermediate date or something like that. And he needs to be able to keep track of where he's at. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to meet the deadline.
Yeah.
He's going to be cramming at the end. And then after he was done checking it all off, then we actually had him evaluate himself. So we said, how do you think you did? What obstacles did you have? How did you problem solve that? What could you do better next time? Again, it'll be like that with homework assignments when he doesn't get an A.
Right.
Know? So with the homework assignments, now that's all transferring over. Now that he's in school, we're doing the same thing. And right after he finishes his work, one of the steps is that you check your work for errors. And then at the end, you evaluate, how do you think you did on this assignment? You kind of almost try to predict what grade do you think you might get. Right. And if you realize, like, I think I'm going to get a B. Okay, well, what could you do if you wanted an A?
Right.
And maybe they can identify something in that moment to fix it before they even turn it in. Then they get it back and they reevaluate themselves again. So I got a B. Why did I get a B? What could I do better next time? Those kind of things.